We are continuing with our discussion about birth order, and Irene was telling us about the history taking that they do when they receive a client. And one of the critical questions they ask is, what is your birth order? Then from there, they get a direction. Mercy, if I may ask, how do you handle it now that I'm number 1, I'm number 2, I'm number 3, or I'm the only child? Because somebody watching at you would like to know, how is birth order that important? After all, if I am number 1 and I'm facing these problems, is my birth order going to direct you to solve my problem or something like that?
I think, thank you. I think it is very important for someone to understand some of these things, because naturally we assume things. We assume I'm the way I am, there's nothing much I can change about it. And the reason why now these people like Adras came up and started studying about birth order, it's because they realized there were some traits within individuals that affected them, not only in their relationships, but in how they relate with other people, maybe in places of work. And this can also be an advantage to you or a disadvantage to you. So it is very important for each and every person now to go back there and start researching, what is this birth order? Now, I'm the firstborn, does it mean that my life will remain that way? Because there are people who have reached that comfort zone. It's because of this, of who I am, that's why things have turned out the way. The other people who don't even understand there's anything to do with birth order and how they are behaving. I mean, because like now when you come out and you look for, like, let me say an only child, this child has never learned to share.
Yes.
It has always been everything that was brought in, it's me.
It's mine.
Mine. You started saying yangu, yangu, yangu until you're 40 and you're still saying ni yangu. And then even you find yourself, you don't have friends and you don't know how to share. You know, have you ever had those conversations of like, he's so stingy. Hata ukienda kwake akupatii chai, because maybe that person never learned how to share. They never learned how to give. They were never brought up with other people. You know, when you're many, you fight for sweets. You know, when you're many, there's that scramble in the morning of, mkate ilibaiwa jana usiku, let's wake up and go and do these things. But when you're alone, everything is supposed to just run smoothly for you, no competition whatsoever. And now when you find such people, maybe in places of work, they are now starting to interact with other people who are more aggressive, who are more outgoing, and who are more competitive than them. They can either become aggressive and arrogant, demanding their praise, before they understand that this is an equal ground where each and everyone is supposed to compete based on their strength, not on your position. And so now it becomes very difficult also for managers and people above, or even people that you're working with on the same level, to come and start forming a special or a strong relationship bond. These are the people sometimes you may find they are loners within the office. They, even when you ask them for direction, they think you just want to take their position. They will never share. These are the people who want to just go top on their own, because they do not believe there's delegation. They do not believe there's fair competitiveness within the workplace. They just want their own place. So yes, going back and asking yourself, is this trait I'm exhibiting right now related to my birth order? Yes, it is. If so, is there a way that I can work it out? Yes, there is. And then from there you start working out your self-personality from a point of understanding, not from a point of assumption. That is very important. And I think we can solve so many problems at workplace, even when people are dating. You know, there are people who go, you are firstborn dating a lastborn, and you're like thinking, she wants me, if you're a man, she wants me to like mother him, father him. You're supposed to come here and become my wife, but all you want is me to be there for you. They're not understanding that you are firstborn and you're dating a lastborn. Now look at a relationship of lastborn dating lastborns. It's me, I need to be pampered. Who will pamper the other? So it's important when you understand some of these things, even when you're dating, especially in dating relationship. Understand the birth order of your partner, then now you can be able to balance your roles and how you communicate and relate to this person.
Yeah, so Mercy, you're trying to tell us some of the successes we see in our leadership in our country, in marriages, in schools, all can be linked back to birth order?
Yes, they can.
Yes.
And as I said, it necessarily doesn't mean because you're firstborn you become a leader, or because you are lastborn you become this person who just wants to beg for attention from everyone. As there's that gap that even you find even some middle children who are so independent, and they are necessarily not aggressive, not mean. They find their balance in being fair and the peacemakers. They want to create a balance from this end and to this end. They're like the pulling string. come here and find me in between. And now these people can become very strong leaders. They are people who will be able to tell every nitty-gritty detail that is missing, because all along when they were growing up, they were at the center. So they focus around, not in one direction. So some of these individuals can also become very strong leaders and very independent and mature decision makers. So birth order, as we are saying, it can cut two ways.
Yes.
It can be on the negative or on the positive. And necessarily your birth order does not necessarily mean that some of these traits that we are saying come automatically with the position you're born with is what you start bringing out in your day-to-day life. It can be a swap for, yes.
Okay, thank you so much, Mercy, for that. I am just thinking about the careers that we take.
Okay.
And we've seen firstborns who have just failed completely. She had spoken about depression. How would you tell that this is a well-up family? They lack nothing. But now the firstborn is just there. He said it's either you become successful or you become spoiled. What can we say is the role of the environments that we live with birth order?
I love that question, because you've brought out the element where there's a family and this firstborn is not successful.
Yes.
Now, one of the things we need to understand is that your environment dictates a lot about how we grow up,
Yes.
and a lot on how we move on with our lives. Now, our environment not only includes school or work or everything else, but our initial environment is our home.
Yes.
So one of the things that we need to be very, very careful as parents is that we need to first of all understand that the children that we have, we need to treat them as individual children. That's the most important thing. They're individual, whether it's the firstborn, the middle one, or the lastborn, or even that individual one child that you have. Why is that important? Because every child is unique.
Yes.
Regardless of what number they are in. They are unique. So when you're treating a child as that unique person, then you'll get to a point where the child will grow up knowing I am unique and I can do anything for myself. But also most important, that even if things don't work out, it is okay, we can find solutions. Because a lot of things, what happened is that some of these so-called, we'll use the word so-called, successful families, whether it is financially, career-wise or whatever, they give the impression that in our home, there is no room for failure. So you imagine you're in a home where fine, you have been brought up and everything looks fine, but now you as an individual, you've already been told there's no room for failure. And we know in life, there are people who generally are good in certain things and they're not good in other things. So the question is, what will my parent do for me when they know that I'm not good in this particular area? There are parents who, in our family, we are all doctors, so dare you not be a doctor. Gosh, I love music and art. I love drumming. And I mean, and your parents will be looking at you and thinking, like, seriously? You actually want to be a drummer? And we are, and you're the firstborn? You want to be a drummer and your siblings are doctor, engineer, professor, and all those things? You've got to be joking. So you'll find this firstborn who, for all you care, when he gets to the drum set, he's himself or she's herself, and she does a beautiful job. And whether it comes with the money or not, they are in their element. So this environment is so critical to a point where parents, because they are the initial environment for children, need to show their children, one, their uniqueness. Show them love. Show them that things can go right or wrong, but we will still love you for who you are. Support them. Support them. Just because you're not a doctor doesn't mean, I mean, think about it. A doctor needs to eat good food. Who's going to cook the food? It's a chef. The doctor who's going to go to that hotel, the plumbing will not be working. Can the doctor go and unplug the sink? No, you need a plumber. And there's got to be someone's son or someone's daughter to unplug that. And that person who's unplugging that drainage system, there's someone who's happy doing the unplugging. Very happy doing that. But they also need to realize the person who's unplugging, for all you care, they are a firstborn and they are a plumber. and they're doing their job very well, and they're in a good environment. I'm a plumber and I'm proud of being a plumber, rather than saying I am going to go through the doctor, the doctor course for the next 10 years just to please my parents because they want me to be a doctor. That I think that's one of the things I feel about the environment with regards to the order.
Yeah. You've touched something about parents.
Yes.
That is in the family, because everybody expects in a family we have good children with good behavior. So regardless of the birth order, Mercy, how are these parents going to foster good behavior?
Thank you so much for that.
Yes.
It came to my mind when she was talking about the environment, and I think the first environment a child gets, it's the parent. And by environment, I'm not saying like placing them on a field. I'm talking about the people who are there, who speak to that child, and who interact with that child on a daily basis. And I think we forget so much. Apart from the rules and the responsibility that comes with parenting, there's also the words that we speak to our children. And these words can be used to mold a child or to break a child. I think so. Today we are so much dwelling on the firstborn. A scenario whereby a mother leaves a baby who is like 5 years old, tending to a 3-year-old or a 2-year-old. And when the mother comes and finds things were not done according to instruction, remember this is a child trying to grow, and you start telling this child, where hata ufikiri, we ni mjinga, we ni nini. I mean, it's a 5-year-old for crying out loud. So how do you expect this 5-year-old to start mothering another one when they need to be mothered themselves? And when you speak these words, remember again, we say between 0 to 6 years, it's the formative age of a child. Whatever you speak to them, consciously it may not be there, but subconsciously it will be in them. And at some point, these traits start playing out in them. They go out there and start thinking, mimi ni mjinga, and they'll never understand where that mjinga came from. They'll start having that doubt, self-doubt in them, because there's nothing they did during that stage that was affirmed as good. So in the process of you expecting this child to turn out good, you played a significant role in instilling fear and negativity in this child, thinking you are reprimanding them. There are better ways to reprimand a child. I would assume that instead of telling a child ni mjinga, can you correct that child and show them how they should do it? And if I told them mjinga, it takes two a jinga, sorry to be this brand, it takes two a jinga to notice the other one. So in this scenario between a mother and a child, who is more mjinga than the other one? The one who is speaking vile to a child or the one who should be correcting the child? We need to create that balance, especially as parents, especially with the words that we speak to our children. Because also then again, the language that we feed them becomes their language. If you have been used to, and you know, children learn. Kama maisha ni ngumu, kwa tunanga pesa, sisi tulizaliwa kwa shida, that child will grow with that mentality, maisha ni ngumu, kwetu hakunanga any breakthrough and everything, and they become part of that system unknowingly, because that is what they have been paid to do. So yes, it is very important even as parents to be careful, not necessarily with the roles and the duties that we give our children, but with the mouth. Someone said that children project what their parents have given them. So if you are good at projecting negativity, naturally your children will start projecting that negativity, because the person they look at as the authority is a secure base in their life, and the person they can trust the most has fed them that negativity. But if you train your children confidence and positivity, and even when there are problems, you tell them, yes, we are here, it is a problem, but it is true, we need to work it out because we cannot do it here, and we are working to become better. Encourage them, let them become better than what you are. And that starts with the words that you speak to your child.
Yes.
Yes.
Children also need to be protected by their parents, regardless of the birth order, from the society. Remember when you were beginning, you tried to unveil or to unmask the characters of each birth order. For example, the introvert, who will be very having a barrier. But again, outside their home, things are different. How are we going as parents to protect these children from the hostile community, society that does not know that you're behaving the way you're doing because you are the last born?
I think one of the things that you said very rightly is that there's an element where parents need to protect their children.
Yes.
And that's fine. But one of the things I tell parents is that let children know the realities of life. Let the children know the realities of life. Because, for example, I know a child who's 18 years old, lives in Nairobi, but anytime they're going places, they'll be Ubered. They don't take matatu. Not that their places have no matatus, but they will take an Uber. So from home, they'll take an Uber. So one time they're in town, they're in town, and suddenly all these people around them, the child gets scared. And you see, for any other normal child who's out there, who has been allowed out to realize this is what the life is all about, when you're walking around in the streets of Nairobi, for example, you'll bump into people, you know how to hold your bag nicely, you know, there are things like those. Where am I going with this? You need to be able, as a parent, be practical. Be open about some of these things. Now, the challenge we'll find is out there, to be very honest, the society doesn't care. It doesn't care. You're first, you're last, you're middle, you're wherever, you're an only child. It doesn't care. It just needs get things to get done. So it is you as a parent now to be able to expose your child and have these conversations. Have these conversations with your children. And that's why sometimes I tell people, when you hear their courses for, you know, all these seminars where you're told parenting 101, you know, get to understand these things. Visit, I mean, attend these conferences, because they help you know how to have conversations with your children, so that when your children are out there, they hear the negativity that, you know, that Mercy was talking about. They know how to stand for themselves. Yes, so what, I am a last born. So what, people expect me to be a little spoilt brat. But wait a minute, I am the head of a department in an organization. I am running this department very well. Yet in their mind, people have this thing of you're like a spoilt brat because you're the last born. So if as a parent, you've not trained your child, you've not had these very positive conversations with your child to show them, regardless of whether you're an only child or whatever order you're in, out there people will have expectations. But what have we trained you to be able to do? Because even as a child, when you're growing up in that mature age, you also need to be able to know that you have been brought up to also research for yourself. You cannot just sit down and expect to be fed by your parents. You also have a mind of your own. What have you learned? Has the home environment created a scenario where when I hear something out there, I can come and confront you and say, Mom, I had this, Dad, I had this. Is this true? Then you're having that conversation. And that is why you find some people are expected to be this way, but you find they're so different, and you look and you wonder, wow, what has happened to this person? They are so confident, they're so good with themselves, but the contrary is the same.
Yes.
When you have an environment where parents do not support their children, regardless, they don't support their children. So all the negativity that comes in, they soak it in. And when they soak it in, it now starts oozing out as rotten people. And you're thinking, I thought I taught you well. Or as a parent, you think you taught. Maybe you are an absentee parent. Maybe even in terms of the birth order, the way things are, you don't even understand as a parent. So you see, if you don't understand as a parent, it becomes difficult for you to give direction to your children because you're a parent. I'm sorry, you have authority over your children. I'm sorry, you're supposed to give direction to your children. So learn as a parent. What can I do for my child within the home environment, so that when they go out there, they're able to stand for themselves?
Learn as a parent.
Yes.
That is where I am. There are no classes for parenting. And even if they are there, I don't think my mom underwent one. I don't know if my neighbor's mother underwent one. Myself as a mother, I've never been in one.
Okay.
As psychologists, how do you help? Or how do we help? What is your role in this?
Okay.
There is no class for parenting.
Yes.
And actually, the first born comes with trials and errors.
Yes.
By the time the second born is coming, I've done this. By the time the third born is coming, we have been there, ata. Itakuwa sawa. First born, you run with fever, everything. I think learning for a parent is something very personal.
Yes.
Nobody can take you through a class for learning. And also, children are very diverse and different. The way you parent your children, it depends with how your children's needs and the environment that you have created for them. Lucy, I believe you have gone to places and you have seen some children behave in a manner until you you cringe on behalf of your parents, and you're like, what is happening here? I should be the one to do this thing. But because they're not your children, you cannot do anything. So parenting is very personal. And that's why now we come to the parenting styles. There are parents who are very strict naturally. They just strict parents. And what I mean by strict, it is either they are very firm. If we set rules and regulation within a family, they have to be followed, and children come in knowing their parents are strict parents, and if they set rules, they are there. There are those parents now who come in and there's dictators. A child cannot argue. It is either their way, the inaikwanga highway, or the hell, I don't know, something like that, you know, as in if dad says it is final. And even if you tell mom to go and try and change his mind, he cannot change. There are those parents now who become authoritative. You know, there's a very big difference between a dictator and authoritative. Authoritative are those parents, you know, when their authority, even if they speak it so softly, like, Irene, you know, you're not doing that, and they're smiling, and you know that is final. Different parents have different parenting style. They're probably, like, let me call about the complacent or the pessimist parent who just want to get their children to get away with everything. You know, oh, you're crying about a bread I give you. You're crying about a new dress. I bought you a new dress, but I didn't want that. Okay, baby, I'll give you another one. That's the baby and the kamama parents who just get their children get away with everything. What we do not understand is, as parents, we may not necessarily understand what kind of parents we are until I come and tell you, I think you're a strict parent, or you're an authoritative parent, or you're a dictator parent. You may not really understand. Now, what happens is the style that you have used to parent is what will dictate the personality of your child. If you're a parent who allows their kids to get away with everything, this child will never understand rules and regulation. Something which is really happening so much in our schools. As you said, your mother never went to a parenting school, but her parenting is what has made you to become the person you are.
Yes.
Is the parenting that made you not to ban schools and walk away on teachers, because you knew when the line was drawn, you could not pass.
Yes.
And if you dare, the community will deal with you before you reach to the parent. Now we have come to a parenting generation whereby it is my child. I am the only one who can discipline my child. My child gets everything that I want. And this child does not understand rules and regulation. You take this child to a school and they expect to follow rules and regulations. And then what happens? They cannot contain it, they cannot get it, and they burst. So that is where the parenting issues come from. Because how we have trained our children, because you need to understand, as a parent, you are the first trainer of your child. Discipline, it will reflect you. If you are the kind of child who goes and takes all the food from the table, I will not see the child, I will see Lucy. If you are the kind of child who talks back to people, I will not see the child. Yes, I'll say, she's bad-mannered. But wait a minute, who is the mother? And then yule mama mwenye anafundishanga watoto wake tabia mbaya. It falls back on you. So what you need to understand, there is no class for parenting, but there is responsible parenting. Whether it is strict, disciplined, authoritative, you need to choose the kind of parenting that is healthy. But I don't think I can advocate for dictatorship parenting or authoritative parenting, because what happens, children start rebelling. And when they rebel, these are the children who, because they have been, it's like form of bullying. You have bullied them from a home environment. Now when they go out and they have never had freedom, they start behaving like you in a dictatorship manner, but they become bullies without knowing. So so much of authoritative parenting and dictatorship parenting is not something I would advocate, because these are the children now who also start coming out and feeling they are unloved. They start having issues with friendship and relationships. They all trickle down. But for a disciplined child who has been brought up by a parent who is able to balance authority and when to say yes and when to say no, and how to set rules and regulation, that is the kind of parenting that I would advocate, because in the long run it will run out on how a personality of a child or the discipline of a child will be. Yes.
Wow. So when we talk of a psychologist, I would like to know, what is your role? Now we are in a generation of we call it digital era, birth order during our day to day, the century in which we are living, the times in which we are living. Irene, If I look at you and look at that girl who is 18 years, and they also need to know something. Where do you come in? Where do you meet them?
Okay.
Yes.
I think one of the things that we need to understand right now is that indeed there is no class that says, okay, you're going to be a parent, so come, I teach you how to be a parent. It's not, we don't have that. However, in this modern day and age, we have had a number of researches that have taken place where they have started giving us ideas on how to parent our children, and especially at this particular time when we are having the so-called digital era. So as a parent, one of the things I would say is, if you're having a child and this is the 18-year-old, it is important to research. Yes, you may not go to a class and start writing notes about how to be a parent in this at this particular time, but go online. There is lots of information about how to parent, how you know, what kind of personalities that children have depending on their birth order. Then now you come in because you have read, digest that information. Pick what information suits you and your family. Because we do not want to give the impression that because I didn't go to a class, I don't know what I'm going to do, so I'm just going to raise my children like that. No, you need to be a parent who is proactive. Go out there and find out, how do I deal with a firstborn? How do I deal? Because there is a lot of information out there. But what is important is your wisdom as a parent. You need to know. There's no excuse these days to be able to allow children to behave the way they behave just because of a birth order, of the traditional way of expectations that we've had for children. It is important. As a parent, like she said, find out what kind of a child do I have? Because it is important to know. But once I know the kind of personality, because when you bring up this child, they're blank. So what do I want to expose my child to? Maybe my child, as they are growing up, I discover they like this. Maybe my child wants to be a left-handed person. And me, I was brought up to believe it's only right-handed people who succeed in life. So if my child is, drawing towards being a left-hand, what can I do? What do left-handers do? How can I encourage my child to have a better handwriting because they are happy with their left hand? And you see, that way, the environment will not be shooting them and saying because you're a left-handed person, you're most likely unlucky, or these things that people talk about. As a parent, learn, go out there, research, especially in this digital era. I can tell you these children are flipping all the theories that were there or the assumptions that we had before. Our current children are flipping all those theories. They're totally, the assumptions we had are not the same anymore. And that is why now people are going to research and thinking, wait a minute, we thought this birth order behaved like this, but they are behaving like this. So how do we reconcile the two? So at this particular time, I would tell any parent who's starting parenting or is in the process of parenting, please go out there. Try and figure out, learn, look for information. Join up with people who have children. When you're in a community and you're all new parents, let's discuss these things because this is how you learn. You cannot be an individual, an independent person and say, I am a silo, I am a kiosk, I will run my life, I will, bring up my children the way I want Uta do. It's not possible because your children are going to interact with my children. Me, if my children are well behaved and yours have an issue, then we are going to have a problem.
Mercy.
Yes.
Despite all the hiccups surrounding birth order,
Yes.
I'm sure you still have a message of hope. Kindly face your camera.
Yes.
Give us a message of hope. Your parting shot and where we can find you.
My parting shot will be just an input on the technology order or the technological age that we are in. As Irene has said, it is a good time whereby we can get information easily, but it's also a good platform for parents to run away from parenting. And what I say is, we find nowadays, if your child is crying, instead of you trying to find the need, you just give them a gadget that sorts them out. Or you just leave cartoons and movies and all these platforms for them to watch. What you may not know is that as much as it's a good platform to get information, it can also be negative information. So let's be resilient as parents and know what our children are watching. Let's also try to create a balance on how much time they spend on these gadgets and how much time they spend socializing socializing normally with other children out there. Thank you so much for having me. I'm Masikibe. Thank you.
Irene, your parting shot.
All right, lovely. I think for me, my parting shot would be, it's a blessing to be a parent. It's a blessing to have many children regardless of the order. As a parent right now, learn how to deal with our children, whatever order we have. And even for the young people who are watching, try and also find out whatever number I am in the order, what is expected of me, but most importantly, what can I do for me as myself? And you'll turn out to be a very interesting and lovely human being. So thank you so much. My name is Irene. In case you need any contacts, I'm sure Lucy at GBS would give them to you. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, our guests. It was such an interesting show. We are looking forward to having you again. Viewer, that was birth order. Be a firstborn, be what you're supposed to be. If anything has gone wrong, you still have time to correct. You middle children, we are looking up unto you. Don't be introverts. You can speak up. You can protect yourself, but don't be arrogant. Don't be fighting everybody that you come. Lastborns and only children, kindly know that the world is competitive. Go out there and explore more. I was your host, Lucy Wansakariuki. Till next time, bye-bye.